We are back from MagicCon Las Vegas.
Yes.
24.
We have returned.
So we departed once again from the Austin airport. Mm-hmm. And we stayed at the Sahara?
Yes.
Sahara? Which was just one of the hotels recommended through the official convention's lodging site thing, because if you just say how many people do I have, how many people do I want, it has a thing where it searches the nearby venues, and it found the Sahara and said do that, and so that housed 4 of us quite nicely. It had some problems while we were there. It had no water the day we arrived.
Yes.
And
luckily by the time we got there, because we were the last of our party to arrive, the water situation had been fixed. But the water issue did come up when we tried to go eat dinner. There was like no fountain drinks. They only had these little itty bitty bottles of water that were all Sahara branded.
They seemed to have that resolved by the second day.
Yeah, second day that was all resolved, but there were still some trickle down effects of the no water by the time we got there.
And then on the last day, the elevators weren't working. Well, 1 out of 7 for our tower was working, and so that was problematic.
We walked down like 12 flights of stairs with all our luggage.
Yeah.
Because we got tired of waiting for the elevators.
But what seemed like the biggest downside initially to me was that the actual distance to the con, it was like a half-hour walk.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, wow, for Chicago, we got our hotel kind of late, and so it was a half-hour walk to the convention.
Yeah, we were kind of expecting that. We were almost more grateful of like, wow, I'm glad we don't have to walk farther or take an Uber every day.
Yeah, but so we made the walk on the first day, and from then on, we took the monorail every time. And that cost a little bit of extra. It was like $6 a trip, but it was so worth it, in my opinion.
Yeah, they also had the, what was it, like $10 for 24 hours option?
It was a little more than that. It was $14 for 24 hours.
Okay, so like they did have that option. It wasn't strictly one-way trip tickets, which made sense on days when it was like, okay, we know we're going to need it twice within a 24-hour period. Right. The monorail was nice.
But the recurring theme there, I think, is everything costs a lot of money in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a giant Disney park.
It is.
In a sense.
So it was an interesting experience for me. I had never been to Vegas before.
Yeah.
For what I thought was like, wow, we're at this like pretty upscale hotel.
Yeah.
It was interesting that they had like no complimentary breakfast, because like I'm used to staying at really cheap motels where they give you like some crappy coffee and like some sad looking fruit. They didn't even have that.
Oh, no. They have fancy everything, but it all is highly priced.
Yeah, Vegas is a very, like, it's a mono black city. You know, like you can have anything you want as long as you can pay for it.
That's absolutely right. Highly agree.
Yes.
So that was the outside of the convention experience. But then, so at the very start of the convention, like when we first showed up and we were looking around outside, it looked like a pretty comparable experience where we had these big lines. It's a little more scenic than it was in Chicago because you could see the sphere way back in the background. Check out your expression in that. That's a mono black expression right there. I love that photo.
It is. I need that for I need that for a profile pic, I think.
Yeah, I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
So outside, I think we got there like 20 minutes before the doors opened, and it was an enormous line, but it moved pretty quickly. So we were inside within 15 minutes. But then we get inside, and we are once again standing in a line. The same way that I was kind of surprised and complaining about the lines in MagicCon Chicago. Where
we like stood in line to get into another line.
Line after line.
Yes.
But the last line is this enormous snake of that. And so same effect here, which we didn't experience the other 2 days because we didn't get there like beforehand the other 2 days. I assume it happened again.
Probably.
But, I mean, that's a frustrating experience. I'm thinking, man, the con is so limited in time. We're spending so much of it in this. But it was realistically like 15 or 20 minutes.
Yeah. I feel like, maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like this went faster than it did at MagicCon in Chicago.
It felt like it. And I think that was the theme of everything logistically.
Yeah.
Actually, this was the worst part. Everything else, all the problems we had in Chicago, no space to eat, no space to
so much better.
Things.
Yeah, I didn't have to sit on the floor to eat one time.
Yeah.
There was always a chair and a table available. We had places to play Magic with our friends.
Yeah. The free play area and the commander area were kind of right next to each other.
Yes.
And most of the use, I think, of the free play section was just more commander. But I saw a couple of cubes happening and stuff. but there was just space.
Yeah.
Kind of near everything. If you were in the ticketed play area, there was extra space that wasn't being used by official events. If you were in those areas, there was space. The vendors were packed, as vendors always are, and busy, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And then on the second floor, they had the artist alley, and there were tables near there, and there was the family activity section, and there was spare seating near there, and there was a food area and seating near. It was just, there was seating.
Yeah, there was places to sit, which was really nice.
It's real fundamental and real. It's not a flashy thing, but it's so important. And I understand there's another one in Chicago in February, and I'm not entirely confident that it's going to be any better than last because because of the space, the size of the space. This one I think was just more spread out and more conducive to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, and you kind of take those things for granted most of the time. They're like, oh yeah, there will be places to sit. Like if I buy this food, there will be somewhere to sit and eat it. Or like I'm going to this event, like that's clearly set up with the intention that like a lot of people are going to be playing games. Like surely you don't go into it thinking like, wow, I really hope there's a table.
Yeah.
And it's wild when you pay this much to be at an event like this, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to sit and eat this overpriced bowl of nachos on the floor. Like that is a wild experience.
Yeah.
And then I think at one point in Chicago we even played Magic on the floor because there was no place to sit.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It feels melodramatic to call it a disaster, but it was kind of a disaster from that perspective.
I think when you lump that in with the ticketed play sales issues,
right. Also,
it
not
was
an
a
issue
disaster.
Here. Right. And so, on the Saturday, in the middle day of Chicago, which I understand Saturday always has a higher attendance than Friday, they just shut down the on-demand ticketed sales for most of the day because they ran out of space to play. We heard a lot of different stories as to why, but here, no problem.
Did not see. The other thing I remember from Chicago was when we did the Unknown event.
Yeah.
They had to boot another event before us because our event was starting and there wasn't enough space. So I think it was a Two-Headed Giant event or something that I don't think they had gotten to finish.
Yeah.
We're just like, y'all gotta go.
Yeah.
Because the next thing is starting, which like that is I'm glad that didn't happen to us. I'm really sorry that happened to other people because I would be really upset if that happened to me. Because this is something you paid to participate in.
Yeah. And actually, the only logistical complaint I have about this experience is the same as in Chicago, and that's the prize wall. And this leads to us kind of booting ourselves from an event.
Yes, we did boot ourselves from an event for the prize wall at the final day.
So the last scheduled thing we did was the Two-Headed Giant Lady Danger kind of spooky sealed, where there were... It was a cool event. There was, one Original Innistrad, one...
Dark Ascension. Yeah.
Then like two of the... Was there just one Eldritch Moon and Shadows? Some of each of those. Then Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt. I think two of each of those and 4 Duskmourn. So it was all the spooky sets.
Yeah.
Just a sealed game. And it also had this cool little extra rules.
Yeah, that was neat.
Which I found out was not unique to that event because Reddit tells me like FNMs across the country had these last Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was cool though.
This one is branded though. Like if you turn it around, it says...
Well, it says Duskmourn House of War. It doesn't say Lady Danger on it.
So I guess these are just the same thing that they used. Okay, cool.
Which is, I guess other people can have fun too. But it's when an enchantment you control enters, either make a treasure or make a food for the trick-or-treat.
Yeah.
It was a neat little dynamic. And it caused a little build-around issue, but it also wasn't communicated very well because our opponents were unaware that was a thing.
It was just so we got all of our packs in this little... same branding, like, trick-or-treat bag.
I'll put the video up so they'll see it right here. Yeah.
And this was just in there with the packs. Like, there was nothing saying, like, hey, don't forget to use this, or this is a part of the event. Because, like, we built... I don't remember which one of us noticed it, but I was like, hey, this is a thing. Yeah. And so we kind of, we were thinking about that while building, and then when we mentioned it to our opponents, at the beginning, we were like, oh, we should put this here in the middle of the table where everyone can see. They were like, what's that?
Yep. And then they found it in their...
Yes, they found it in their bag, and we're like, oh... Yeah. Okay.
But I think the fundamental problem with this event, and it got going like 10 or 15 minutes late, was that it was scheduled to start at 2 p.m. on Sunday, and the con ends at 6 p.m. on Sunday, and sealed events tend to take the full 4 hours.
And this was a Two-Headed Giant sealed event.
Yeah.
So
we got started late and everything, and by the time we finished round 1, it was almost 5 o'clock, and the line for the prize wall was enormous.
Yeah. Like, the prize wall was at the back of the room, or the back of that hall, and the line for the prize wall was almost near the table where we were sitting at in the seating area. Like, we didn't have to walk that far to get to the end of the line, which it did move fairly quickly.
But we also, our tables were not the close ones to the prize wall. It was like past, I don't know.
Yeah, we were like a couple rows back,
It was like a football field length line.
So, like, it was a long... And so then we made the decision. We had already kind of previously discussed, hey, we might have to drop early so we can, like, cash out our prize tickets.
Yep.
And we just had to drop a bit earlier than initially planned.
And I'm just frustrated that if there is a provision for, okay, 6 o'clock hits and you haven't gotten through the line, what happens?
Yeah.
No one ever tells you that. And it may be that it's okay and they, like, honor people who are in I don't know.
We don't know. And it's not really advertised.
And that causes a real problem in deciding what to do with events like that.
It does.
I think the problem was actually scheduling an event to start that late, but I don't know. That's...
Yeah, I don't know, because we had the convention app.
Yeah.
And before the event even started, I got a push notification about, hey, don't forget, like, go cash out your prize tickets. And so I actually went up to the table to ask somebody, like, hey, I'm in this ticketed event. What do if, you know, like... Do I need... Because I was almost afraid that they were, like, planning to maybe, wrap up early. Or maybe they were running out of enough stuff that they were like, hey, we gotta, like, finish this up now. And the guy was like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, we're open till 6. He did not say anything about, like, what happens if my event ends after 6.
Yeah.
He was like, no, it's cool. Like, you don't have to do it right this second.
Okay.
And so it kind of answered my question, but not really. Yeah. It's like, okay. I will say, though, that for the prize wall, like, I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't get a Duskhorn bundle because they were already out of those.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's on me for not cashing out earlier. Yeah. But then that's another decision you have to make is, like, I also didn't think that something like the bundles were going to be sold out. Yeah. I figured that for the more unique prizes. But that seemed... it wasn't like a collector...
Pretty generic,
What was it? Like the gift bundle? Was it the Nightmare bundle? That's what it's called. Right. It was just the generic Duskhorn bundle. I was like, oh yeah, surely I'll be able to get that. And they're like, no, that's not...
But also you didn't have enough tickets until after the Lady Danger event.
Exactly! So it's hard to make those kinds of decisions where you're like, oh, I want to finish this event and get my tickets so I can get the thing I want, but then you get up there and now we're sold out of the thing I want. So there was a lot of shifting expectations.
So that's the only, like, systemic problem I perceived in this event. Otherwise, like, it was quite good.
I think so, yeah. This one definitely compared to the Chicago experience for me. I've only been to the 2 events. You also had Gen Con in between.
Which is such a different experience.
Different thing
Magic's
entirely.
Like 2% of that one. Yeah.
But this is like my 3rd Magic event because I went to MagicCon Command Fest in Austin.
Like
pre-pandemic, and then I went to these 2 events this year. This one was definitely better for me than Chicago for all of the planning reasons we explained. Unfortunately, I had a lot more money when we went to Chicago, and I did a lot more stuff. This one was more everything was more expensive just because Vegas, and it was characterized. I played a game with myself every day where I was like, I need to spend as little money as possible.
What a fun game!
Which was such a fun game. It was like hard mode because I was like, and you're in Las Vegas. But it was interesting. I mean, we got to do a lot of things. We got to have, in addition to doing the events, we got to have some fun encounters. The first one, which I almost didn't do because I was so intent on just going and drafting all the time, was to go meet Mark Rosewater. Which I assumed to be a big panel or something. But this one was my idea because you had a bunch of drafts, or you were planning to do a lot of ticketed events that day. This was Friday. And I was just looking at the schedule and was like, oh, you can go meet Mark Rosewater. I'm going to do that. And I think you just kind of last minute decided to go with me.
So glad I did.
Because you didn't have anything immediately starting. And we show up and there's like it's a very short line.
Like 5 people in front of us, maybe?
So I was like, oh yeah, let's do this.
And it was in the same room as the professor who had a line way out the door.
A lot of people were trying to meet him.
So we were walking up and I see the line and I'm thinking, oh, okay, this is going to take a while. And then the like moderator's like, anyone here for Rosewater? Come on in.
Come on in. And we're like, us. Yeah, so we got to get in line and meet Mark Rosewater. He was super cool. I had him sign a couple cards for me.
Yeah. We had a cool conversation, but I think we're going to save that for a separate video.
Yeah.
Because it ties
relates
into
to
Fallen Empires.
topic.
So I'll go into that.
Yes, but I got him to sign my Mono Blue Geralf, Visionary Stitcher.
Nice.
And one of the custom tokens that I brought just because I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and I had a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
And that was because we had our Innistrad cosplay on.
Yeah.
The whole, 4 out of 5 of us had Innistrad cosplay. Our 5th one has lost his costume.
Yes.
It's a Flesh Taker costume. It's really cool, but it's no longer with us. So we had a Get Rug PhD.
Get Rug.
We had
PhD.
Old Rutstein.
I was a Stitcher.
Yeah. And I had Tireless Tracker.
Yeah.
Which Eric Deschamps, the artist for the original Tireless Tracker, got in his line with only 2 people. He looks up from the person he signs, like, I recognize that guy. That's a Tireless Tracker. I'm like, yes!
That's amazing!
So I paid an absurd amount for a artist proof signed, and I couldn't find my Innistrad Shadows over Innistrad print. I only found this Commander print in my own collection. I know I have a bunch of them, because like the first standard deck I ever played in a game store had like 3 or 4 of these. So maybe I just have that deck together somewhere and haven't been able to find
maybe
it.
it's in a box.
But so that was cool too.
Nice.
I also talked to Margaret Organ-Keene, who we discussed at length in our last Fallen Empires video.
Yeah, she was there. She had an artist table in the artist section.
And that's another one where the details I'm going to include in one of our Fallen Empires videos, because it's relevant. Coolest to me, though, was being recognized in the wild from this channel. And met our first organic fan.
Yeah.
And please forgive me if I got your name incorrect. I think it's Faraz. Immediately after we met, I was messaging you like,
yes,
guess what just happened to me?
Yeah, you sent me a message.
you really absolutely made my day. So thank you for that. It was a real pleasure. You weren't with us, but while I was with James, we ran into Olivia and Brian Kibler.
That's cool.
And James got some things signed.
Yeah.
So that was neat.
Yeah, I met a couple other content creators that were in costume, and I was also handing out my little skeleton tokens to just anyone that I thought looked cool or nice.
Yeah.
I distributed all of mine. I think you still have a few left over.
I want to use them. I'm going to use them in our games because I got. Anyway, thank you for making those.
You're welcome.
I handed out a lot of them. I handed out 30.
You did. I just handed out more.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway.
Acknowledge. You win.
What else did we do? Did we have
just cool stuff? There was the Duskmourn and Bloomberg areas.
Oh, that was really neat.
What do they call those? Interactive exhibits?
It's like a little interactive exhibit. So they had something like this in Chicago for Karloff Manor.
Yeah.
Where you went through
Not
and
Markov Manor?
Not Markov Manor, Karloff Manor. Yeah.
Yes.
The Markov Manor one is it's for the VIP owned Black Lotus
that makes sense.
People.
Yep.
But no, it's like it's almost like a little miniature TV set or something. So they set up.
I got a little. I'll play this video.
We'll play the video. But the Karloff Manor one, you had to go through and solve a mystery.
Yeah.
This one, it was 2 parts. So you started in the Duskmourn area, and you had to watch a series of screens and decipher a code.
Mm-hmm.
They had some really cool architecture. They had this this infinite hallway with what looked like blades sticking out of the wall.
Yeah.
You couldn't go in there, unfortunately. And then they had another little puzzle with some really fun book titles. If it's not visible in the video, I have a picture. I have a photo of the books because they're quite fun. And then, let's see, the next step, once you got through that portion, backside of the little card, because they give you a similar little, fill-in-the-blank card that we had at Karloff Manor.
And this is all very, if you've been to an escape room, this is the kind of event it is. It's like an easy end of escape room puzzles.
Yeah, they're pretty easy.
Yeah.
They're not, they're designed...
They're kind of that kind of thing.
They're solvable. You have to do a bit of thinking.
There's always a line going through them. They don't want to hold that up too long.
They don't want people standing there for 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure this out. So they're solvable. And then you go into the little Bloomborough area, which was super cool. They had the I can never remember the name of it. The patchwork.
Oh, the patchwork banner.
The patchwork banner is hanging over it.
Yeah.
And then they had this really cute diorama with all of the main animal characters from
really cute.
Bloomborough.
When you sent that picture at the beginning of the con, I hadn't been up there yet. I thought there was like a full-size space with like life-size all these figures.
Yeah.
No. It's like
you look through a little window.
Yeah, it's
and
tiny.
There's this little miniature diorama of all of them. It was adorable.
Yeah.
And then, at the end of it, if you fill out your little card, you go up to one of the staff members, they ask you what your favorite color is in Magic, and then they give you an awesome pin, which I didn't bring mine.
This is the black one, which I haven't taken out of the packaging yet. It's too precious.
But they're really beautiful,
They really are. I don't know if the kind of reflect... They're not iridescent quite.
Yeah, they kind of have
shiny.
some glitter in the enamel. They're really pretty.
Yeah. They do.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So I got blue... because they were out of black the day that I went, and then I guess they replenished when you went back.
I gotta say, I was really impressed with I don't know if it was the same person handing out and asking what your favorite color was, but when I went through that, this person, they weren't phoning it in.
Oh, no, I might have been the same guy.
What's your favorite? Yeah.
Was it a guy?
Yeah.
Okay, it might have been the same dude, because he was, engaged.
Yeah. He, made you, if you were I'm hemming and hawing between two, he'd, talk it out with you.
Yeah.
That was cool. I really
he didn't have to do that with me because
No.
I knew exactly.
But I was, green and black, but I know I want the black pin, so I got to angle that way.
Yeah. No, I can't remember what, he made a joke when me and Andrew went through there. He was definitely... into this experience. He wasn't just
really appreciate
what's your
that.
favorite color? Here you go, bye.
Which, I could understand, but, no, that was a good experience.
He was engaged. He was really cool.
Yeah.
And I love the pin I got. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Which is, I've been having a crisis, some kind of crisis, because I've recently built 2 mono blue decks, and then I got that pin.
It's an identity crisis.
It's an identity, that's what it's called. Yeah, I've been having an identity crisis, because I've just been really blue leaning lately, even though, most of my history as a Magic player has been very black leaning.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening to me,
I'm
but
sorry.
people keep reminding me that I'm a degenerate because of that, and I'm that's not news. So... Oh, they had the Find Flibblethip scavenger hunt.
Oh, I totally forgot to do all of that.
So that was a little bit of a disappointment. That was something that me and Andrew did on day 2, where you just walk around and you try to find these QR codes, and they're not exactly hidden. They're big. They're 8. Probably not 18 by 24, but 11 by 17 signs. So they're not secret.
Yeah.
But they are located they were mostly on the perimeter of the rooms, so they were not, you did have to go look for them, but rather like the Bloomborough Duskmourn experience, they set this up to be solvable. I was worried that they were going to be tiny stickers, hidden in really obscure places. They want you to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
So we went around looking for those, and the issue with that was I think there was 8 or 9 QR codes. One of them was just flat out missing. It was not on the floor, on either floor, and one of them was broken. So I scanned a QR code that I knew I had not scanned, and it didn't give me a new stamp, because you scan it in the app and it would give you a new Flibblethip stamp. And so after this experience, the broken one, I was like, let's just go to the redemption counter, because they had a little spot at the beginning of the con near the place where you redeemed your check-in and merch for getting a badge, basically.
Yeah.
So we went up to the counter and was like, look, I was like, I know you're probably not allowed to give hints, but I scanned a code that didn't give me a new Flibblethip, and she was immediately like, yeah, I'm so sorry. One of them is broken, and one of them is just flat out not there. So they're like, we're going to go ahead and give you the reward, which was just a little Flibblethip postcard. It's really cute, but it's like a little postcard. I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad we didn't spend a lot more time on that.
That's unfortunate.
But that was I think that was Saturday, because that was the day that I ended up just walking around with Andrew. No, it was Friday.
That was Friday. That was
Friday. And so I asked were you guys gonna fix it? Because I was kind of thinking that there was more of a prize than just the postcard. And she was just honestly, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the postcard was the whole prize, so I didn't really need to wait in suspense for that to be repaired. So I don't know if it got fixed. If you did the event on a later day, let me know if you were able to scan all of the QR codes.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't.
Other than that, I was just gonna briefly touch on each of the actual play events we did.
Oh, yeah.
We've already mentioned the free play and commander areas were just so much better because it's just having enough space. That's it.
Yeah,
That's all we
tables and
need them to
chairs.
do, and they did it. Because we did Two-Headed Giant, both Dustborn on demand, and we did the Mystery Booster.
Yes.
I guess
that's right.
So
Yeah.
what did you think of the Mystery Booster sealed event? This is Mystery Booster 2, the new ones.
So this is the second time that I've played I drafted the original Mystery Boosters at Magic Command Fest Austin. And I'm not really sure if I like the Mystery Booster format. It's just so all over the place. It can be fun. I think it's really hard though if you're looking for synergies and you're used to playing within a single set or a block. Because there's just so much the card pool is so massive.
It's a chaos draft.
It is essentially a chaos draft. So if you like chaos draft, Mystery Booster is probably going to be your jam.
And it's also kind of a silver border draft because there's a playtest card.
You get the playtest card.
Some of them are just junk. Some of them are ridiculously overpowered.
I think that part is a little that part feels a little bit off because I remember playing against somebody at the last con that got like the Sliv Mizzet card, and I had just some like goofy one, which was like, okay, cool.
We had Summon a Random Praetor. That was
fun.
Legitimately a cool card.
I enjoyed that a lot. I love that they include the Ebon Praetor on that
it's
card.
Like, well, we need to be able to pick this randomly from a D6.
That made it for me.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
Also,
now, it gave us a Shieldred, so that was better, but it was nice that was
the thanks to me. I was praying for Shieldred.
And we'll have to put the art on here, too,
also,
to show off.
I was going to say, there's Shieldred's depiction on this card is amazing.
It's something. Yeah.
It's something.
But I'm with you on that. The only other notable thing I have to say about Two-Headed Giant was Dustborn. I don't know what was in your mind right now. But
my god!
But I got these two photos side by side, and that's hilarious to me.
I can tell you what was going on later. I don't know that it's good for this video.
Okay, noted. Maybe this is a thing. If someone meets us in public, they can ask.
Yeah, if you meet me in public, feel free to ask me what's going on there. Because I'm clearly having a crisis.
And then the last thing was just more of a really going off on a diatribe, which is the individual Duskmorn Swiss.
Yeah.
Like, as far as the convention goes, those fired really quickly. That was great. But I managed to almost ruin my own vacation experience by getting really hung up, I think, just on winning.
Okay.
Because I've had, like, when we did our kind of wrap-up for Bloomborough episode, I was talking about how that was the most drafted set ever for me, that I loved it so much. And a little before that, we did a video where I was talking about anxiety and how I always kind of struggle when I get to the higher ranks. Well, like a week before this convention, I hit Mythic for the first time on Arena ever.
Yeah.
And had done about twice as many drafts as I ever did in Bloomborough. So I've been loving this set.
Yeah.
And been going crazy on Arena with it, just drafting like crazy. But I have this tendency to really get hyper-focused on whatever activity I'm doing in front of me and putting all of my self-worth in it.
Okay.
And so if I'm doing well for a while and suddenly I'm not doing well, I just start feeling awful about myself as a human being. It's real disproportionate. And it's in a way that if my friend was telling me about this, I'd be like, whoa, you need to back up and get some perspective. But I'm not as good at telling myself that. And so we show up at MagicCon and do a few events, and I think the average drafter at MagicCon is going to be quite enfranchised. You know, they're going to be...
Yeah, I mean, this is a premium event that you probably had to travel to go to. This is not something that, unless you live there, you're probably not like, hey, let's travel across country for this thing we play every couple of months.
Yeah, and so, like, when I play at LGS's around here, usually I do pretty well.
Yeah, I think you're undefeated at one of them.
So far, I'm sure I don't want to jinx that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that, but like, feel free to brag. Like, you are very much, like, you're really good at draft.
But not in this context, though, because I go there and suddenly I'm like, I don't know if I even managed 50% win rate over the weekend, and I was just starting to feel really bad. Like, why am I doing this? I came into this convention thinking, I can't wait to do nothing but draft all weekend. And fortunately, I caught myself falling into this hole quickly, like by the end of the first day, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to reframe, because I also noticed that the parts of the day within that first day that I was loving were, of course, spending time with my friends, with you and the others. And we just had great experiences, and some of them were playing Magic, and others were just being there together.
Yeah.
And so once I got out of that focus, I continued to not do that well, and I didn't do as many drafts as I intended to, but I still played a lot of Magic while I was there, and ended up having a really good time. But it did take some introspection.
Yeah. I think it's worth mentioning that I do not have, like, I don't draft anywhere near as much as you do. Like, I have drafted, aside from in person, I have drafted 0 times on Arena this season. Wow. So, like, I'm not doing this a lot, right? I also get that, though, like, when I'm not doing well, I constantly waffle back and forth, and I feel that more in in-person events than I do on Arena, and I think it's because I can, like, step away from it, and you can pause in the middle of a draft.
Yeah.
So, like, if you need to take a minute on Arena, you can just be like, I'm going to do something else until my next game.
Yeah.
And when you're in a real life experience, like, okay, the next game's happening now, and you kind of have to just go with it. But I get that, too, where when I'm doing well, I feel great.
Yeah.
When I'm not doing well, I'm questioning everything. Like, why do I even play this game? Do I know how to read? What am I doing with my life? Like, why did I pick this? This is terrible.
Yeah.
So I get that 100%. There's something there, and it's not entirely related to like your overall draft performance history. So.
But I connected that because I've also been doing the same thing. Like I hit Mythic, then I immediately go 0-3. I'm like, I am terrible. It was pure luck that I got to Mythic. It might have been partly luck, but like, no, you got to back out and look at the whole picture.
Right.
But I was just catching up on all the footage of the World Championship that happened while we were there, but we weren't watching that because we were playing our own games. So I was watching it, and I realized now that one of the photos I snapped as I was passing by was of this one game between Jean-Emmanuel Duprat and I think Ivan Ferreira. I might have the wrong match in mind, but both of them, like, JET is like a world champion from like last year or the year before. He totally misreads what Monstrous Emergence does, because usually it's a bite spell. Bite spells have the creature do damage to another creature, and so he uses that on a Death Toucher. In like a world championship game, as soon as he's done that, he rereads the card and realizes that doesn't not what Monstrous Emergence does. It's templated differently because it can also work on a card from your hand.
It's a weird card because you can
spell
reveal.
Does
the
damage.
Spell is the card that I played that against somebody, and it's an unusual card because it does look and feel when you start playing it like it's going to be a bite.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting that
World Championship match, televised match. It might be because it's extra pressure. They're televised. Sure. I don't know. But then a few turns later, his opponent has the is it Defiled Crypt? It's the room that one side is a raised dead and the other side makes a monster for you, a 2/2 horror enchantment creature when you.
I don't know that.
When something leaves your graveyard. He raises something from the graveyard, gets it back to hand, and totally misses the trigger and doesn't make a 2/2.
So I mean, it happens to everybody.
Yeah. It happens to them a lot less, but still it does legitimately make me feel better. And like Marshall and Paul Cheon were there on coverage, and they were making that exact same observation. This is not my original thought. This is what they said on coverage. Like, look at that. Doesn't it make you feel better as just a regular player that even the top players in the world make just simple mistakes sometimes? Yeah. But then they also put it behind him and keep going.
Yeah, and I guess
need to work on that part a lot.
That's the part we need to work on, is the putting it behind us and keep going. Not having like a whole. I don't know how much time I spent in that headspace because it was just like I didn't do as many events as you did this weekend or this past weekend, but there was definitely, I think it was Saturday when I was really feeling that after an event where I was just like, wow, you are terrible at this game. Yes. Like, I can't believe that you flew yourself out here to play this game that you're so bad at. Like,
not to get too into the weeds, but I think that's a cultural thing. It's a gamer culture thing, and it's a Magic gamer culture thing, where we collectively tend to call things bad and players bad really too easily, and we lose sense of, like, no, you're just not performing in the top 1 percentile. Yeah. That doesn't make you bad. Yeah. And Paul Cheon, like, in his videos, sometimes he'll say, yeah, it's because I'm bad at Magic. Like, it's mostly joking, but, like...
But, yeah, there's also...
We gotta stop all this negative self-talk.
Yeah, like, I need to reframe that for myself, because it's like, okay, like, when I think back to the day that I was really feeling that, and, like, not to get too deep into, like, now we've kind of veered off into a whole, like, Magic anxiety and
we'll wrap it up
issue.
soon.
But yeah, I'm like, did I actually make an egregious misplay that day? I was like, I don't think so. Yeah. I just didn't perform in the top 1%, and then something in my brain was like, yeah, that's because you're bad at Magic.
Yeah, you're a terrible human being.
And you're a terrible person.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, like, I might be a terrible person, but I'm not that bad at Magic.
Yeah.
You know?
They're
I need to
different
reframe that.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any other closing thoughts about the...
Closing thoughts? What else? I don't know. I really liked the elote nachos.
Yeah.
I want to shout out to that. So I can't eat gluten. And eating at conventions is a crisis for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, do you want a $9 hot dog? Or
with no bun,
with
just
no
the hot
bun,
dog.
because I can't eat the bun. I'm like, I'm not paying $9 for a hot dog. I just, like, something in me can't physically do that.
I can do that, but I understand you can't.
I can't do it.
They're big hot dogs.
They're big hot dogs, but they're not big enough.
Yep,
So, yeah, I was looking around, scoping out the different options of, like, what am I going to eat here? Because I did not do this in Chicago, learned from that experience. I brought snacks every day.
Smart.
I filled up my bag with snacks so I wouldn't starve to death. That said, I did steal somebody's Doritos over the weekend. I'm sorry if those were your Doritos. But you shouldn't have left them unattended on a table. Mm-hmm. Let's see. So yeah, we were walking around. I was looking for something I could eat that was not a $9 hot dog. Mm-hmm. And there was one food stand that was selling various elote, which is like Mexican street corn. And they had elote nachos, which were amazing. Like, I'm still thinking about them. I want to eat them again.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm sad that I'm going to have to, like, go to the fruit place by my apartment and see, like, bring them some chips and be like, can you make... Or I'm just going to have to go buy a cup of corn there, because they sell elote at that place, and just, like, take it home and make my own. Like, I'm really into this concept of elote nachos.
I combined the two things at the same vendor. I got an elote dog, which is a hot dog where they just put some street corn on it. And, like, the cheese and the other usual... Yeah, that was good, too.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna have to experiment. What this did for me was it like had a light bulb moment where it was like, I need to try elote on more things.
Yeah,
I need to broaden my horizons in that respect.
And right after that, we saw a bird in the convention center, and everyone was so hyped.
It was so it was just a pigeon.
Yep,
just a regular pigeon. Nothing notable, but it was in an unusual place, and I can there was people like I was looking at the pigeon, and then I would look up and like make eye contact with the person, and there was silent communication. Like, are you seeing this?
Yeah.
Are you seeing this pigeon?
Yeah.
In the convention
Other people
center?
were stopping and taking pictures.
People were stopping and photographing the pigeon.
Good times.
It was a good time.
What are you doing, Burb? You're in the convention center. This is not an appropriate bird place. You want our corn?